Okay, so we're looking for, they're not sharpshooters, so we're looking for a 6 to get a hit on the light cavalry here of Pirée. And we'll see what comes up. Nothing today. All right. There we are. Set those aside. Now we have the corps artillery here firing. They're going to be firing at, let's see, the medium cavalry of, I think that's just pronounced Briche. Okay, I don't think it's Briche. It might be Briche, I'm not sure. But so they're stationary. They're firing 2 dice, but they're hitting on 6s. Okay. And nothing there. Okay. Desultory fire. All right. And I suppose you can roll all these together, can't you? It doesn't make any difference where the hits come from in this instance. No. So, I mean, we've got 1, 2, well, just all of them. Yeah. 8 firing at them. And, well, we shall see. That's right. Now, of course, they can elect to get saving throws, each one of which, regardless of its result, will require them to retreat 600 yards. So, there we go. Right. So, a regular fusillade. And, oh, no, we can't do that because they are close range. They hit on 4, 5, 6. Right, so there was a difference. So we'll do 2 dice on 4, 5, 6s for them. So here we go with them, with the short range canister, whatever they're throwing at the cavalry. And they missed as well. There's a lot of desultory fire going on here. And so now good old musketry from the Russian musketeers. Let's see what they can, how many 6s they can get. Right. Ah, well, we do have 2 hits, finally. Okay, so we've got 2 hits. Let's keep track of all this. We've got 2 hits on the Lancers. Okay. And so now the Lancers can do saving throws, which, they're definitely going to want to do that. Well, they could sort of say, well, we'll do 1, and if we're a bit scratched, because they did 1, they'd have to retreat 600 paces, yards, so they would be sort of back here or something. The front of the unit would be back here-ish. And if they take them both, they're going to be back here. No, I think they're going to take them both. Yeah, right. So we'll just pick those up. They're trying to get 4, 5, 6 to nullify the results. And they did. Look at that. Oh my gosh. They were able to escape. So they took no hits, but they will have to pull back 1,200 yards. Let's do that. Okay, so that's where they ended up. They took 2 saving throws, so they had to go back, excuse me, 600 paces twice, 1,200 yards, I should say. So that's where they've come. You might sort of think, well, why didn't they go sort of this way? I don't see anything in the rules that says that they should, in a situation like this, have to plow through their friends and disorder them and all that sort of thing. I really don't feel that that's the intention. It says that they should move if they're attacked by multiple shooters, that they should move to try and get as far away as possible from the bulk of them. But I just don't see them plowing through there and doing that. So I've moved them 1,200 yards that way. Before I should be accused of mollycoddling the Lancers, at least they will pay the penalty of they will start the next turn out of command because they are not within 400 yards of anyone. It's awfully close, but that they are not. So there we go. Sorry, we're still in the middle of combat, aren't we? We've got this last one to do over here, which is the Russian guns there, which are, as we can see, they are stationary, and they have 2 dice, They're not at close range, so they're hitting on 6s. And oh, that's a good question, isn't it? Who are they shooting at? So they could shoot, they can go 45 degrees either way, so they could shoot at that unit there or that unit there. Let me think about that. Yes, I think they are in fact going to be firing at this unit here, which is, let's at least call them by their name, which is from the division of Dufour, and it is indeed Saint-Michel, the brigade Saint-Michel. And they're going to fire at them because the hope is that if anything sort of starts going bad, these chaps are coming up the road, so they're more sort of like in their way, possibly, if something starts going bad. So why not? Let's have a go at that. Yeah, so, okay, roll it up. And nothing doing. Okay, so desultory fire over there. So, okay, in summary then, what did we get out of the combat? They all ganged up on the Lancers. Were it not for the saving throws, they would have destroyed them. They were the Lancers are indeed a 2-hit unit. They would have been destroyed outright, but they had their saving throws and they made them successfully, so they've retired, as we've discussed in some considerable detail. What does that mean now in the sort of big picture on the battlefield? It means that, well, they've been forced back, but they are, of course, completely unscratched. So in their turn now, well, key thing, though, as I said, is that they're out of command. And if you're out of command, you cannot make a move towards a visible enemy. The light has not failed yet. The command radius has shrunk, but the light has not failed. So they could not, for example, move towards a visible enemy. So they can't move towards them. They can't move towards them. So it has thwarted the progress of the Lancers over on the sort of French right of Grouchy's corps, cavalry corps down here, the cavalry reserve, yes. And we've got a fairly sort of, I mean, they were all sort of formed up there so that they could fire at the Lancers, but there is a bit of a sort of a defensive line there. Now, of course, we knew that when the Russian musketeers moved into that position, it was a very plucky move because they've taken one casualty. And the thing is that who is that? He's Dautancourt, I think he is, here with the medium cavalry. No, the heavy cavalry, the heavy cavalry. They, of course, they could just turn now, make a facing change in their turn, and they could charge them. They are not stationary. They don't have secure flanks or anything like that. So they would have a really good chance of being able to do some serious damage against them. Alternatively, of course, they could carry on with what would have looked more like their primary mission, which was to go forward and take on these chaps here, which they can certainly do. Then over here, well, obviously we're probably expecting a charge to come from both those units now. No casualties were caused on them, so both those units can launch themselves headlong at these chaps here. And, well, there we go, and we shall see. So, there we are, there's the situation, and the last thing we do, of course, is we check for division exhaustion. There is none. There's only been one hit taken, and that's on the this division over here, which was taken last turn. Nothing more has happened in terms of casualties. So that is the end of the Russian second turn, and now it's on to the French third turn, which is 5 p.m., which is dusk. So as I said, command radius goes down from 600 yards to 400 yards, and we carry on. Okay, here we are at the end of the movement in French turn number 3, which is the 5 p.m. turn. Dusk has come about, and we've seen the arrival of Marshal Ney. There he is, old Michel Ney, down there. Interestingly enough, with this one, yes, that's true, isn't it? With that one, I actually painted him. Almost none of these figures, as I mentioned before, were painted by me, but I did paint him. within the last few years. So and also the Russian, was it the Russian commanders? Not the French commanders, but the Russian commanders. Where's some Russian commanders? There we go. So get the light. Yeah, so I painted those chaps, for example. Okay, anyway, so Ney has arrived with his Corps de Réserve de la Garde. Okay, so we've got these are top class chaps. These are Voltigeur 2 divisions. So they're morale 6. So they're pretty spiffy chaps. But yes, good stuff. And anyway, there they are. They've appeared there. What's going on here? Well, we have some serious melees going in. Bit of a tangle down here. You see, the thing is that the dragoons here and the heavies, the guard heavies here, they wanted to charge the dragoons. They wanted to charge the lights, but it just wasn't on. The infantry was in the way, and they couldn't even both hit the lights, because if they'd done that, one of them would actually have hit the artillery, and they didn't want to do that. So these chaps here have gone against, that's l'Héritier, have gone against the hussars, the lighter hussars there, and so they'll get a bit of a bonus there on the morale test, which is coming up now. And then the heavies have gone against the infantry, which are of course not stationary, so there's possibility, I believe, that they might disorder them before the combat starts. Possibility, we'll see. I've put down the fire, or rather the combat dice, some of which are for firing and some of which are for melee. As we can see, there's going to be quite a lot going on. Let's see what else has happened. So, yeah, so those two have charged the hussars there. They've got good prospects of getting a win there, but they will be fired on they can be fired on here by the artillery over here. They could be fired on by the artillery here. I'm not sure if both those units are going to fire at them. We shall see. Right, what else have we got? And of course, these chaps are still here, so they can fire. Actually, come to think of it, I messed up there. I didn't check. They can only fire, of course, if they're firing at close range. So let's see. Can the infantry fire at them at close range? No, of course they can't. No. What am I doing? That's wrong. They can't fire. They're too far away. Okay. And then these chaps here, we'll be looking for 400 yards. So let's see, 400 yards. This is pretty important. I'm going to have to stop. That changes things. The thing is, of course, is that when in Volley and Bayonet, it's not the case that sort of everybody who can fire will fire. The phasing player gets to do that with all his units, but the non-phasing player only gets to do it so-called counter-attacking in Volley and Bayonet if the unit itself has been fired on by the enemy, or if it's within close range. They are not within close range of the musketeers, and they are not within close range of this artillery battalion here. So that we just took away 5 dice there. So there we go. That's thumbs up for the French there. Then over here, had an interesting situation here with the Lancers, because if they moved, they could have moved. They were out of command, remember. They could have moved up to half their move, but that would have disordered them. So the decision was made that they would just stay put. And in the meantime, their corps commander, Rouchy, has come up here so that he can have a word with them, and next turn they will be in command. Okay, and then hopefully get them to do something useful. Over here, let's see, this battalion manhandled its guns closer to the enemy and managed to get within close range of the enemy. So they're not stationary, but they are close range, so they're going to be hitting on a 4-5-6. They just stay where they were. They're stationary, but they're not at close range. And they, what did they do? They manhandle forward, but they're inching forward, as it were, but they're not at close range yet. But they are able to fire. These chaps all just sort of went stationary. why are they doing that? Well, the idea, the grand plan, is to wait until Ney can get forward here and hopefully hit them with a sort of from the front and from the side. Yes, so they're going to come in this way, as one might imagine, and they're going to hit them at the front, hopefully all at the same time. And yes, well, hopefully something useful will happen. Let's see. Various commanders have sort of moved around a bit so that they can, like even the Emperor here has come up here so that he can exert his influence for down there, that sort of general sort of thing. And then over here, we've had these are the worst troops. These are the, well, they're still morale 5, yes, but they're just poorly trained, so that means they get no free facing change. So they made a facing change to head this direction, and they were only able to move half their distance, therefore. So they've just come, this one is just poking out of the other side of the orchard here, so they can see what's in front of them. These chaps, on the other hand, they're in the orchard, so they actually couldn't see an enemy that was here, as it were. So they're just working their way up. They're trying to form up here on the extreme right of the French line, and that sort of thing. Right, so morale test wise, we've got several morale tests that have to be done now. One we don't want to forget is that they are within close range of the enemy, so they have to have a morale test. Nobody else is in that situation where they have to have a test for that reason. Beyond that, there's a melee here, so both those units will test. Both these units will test, and all 3 of those units there that are, of course, in the melee will test. So I think we need to start going now with our morale tests. And so here, they get a -1 because they're facing heavier cavalry in their morale test. So let's roll up for them. Remember, if they fail, if they exceed their modified morale score, they will become disordered. So let's see, we're doing the Russians. Let's do this live. I think perhaps as the game goes on, I will stop doing the dice throws live and instead just sort of tell you what the results were, which is more the sort of thing I did in Quatre Bras. But I've kept it detailed this time so that somebody watching this can have a pretty good idea of the mechanics that actually happen when you're playing a game of Volley and Bayonet. Okay, so rolling for the morale test then. So we're going to do the Russian Hussars back there first. They've got a morale of 5. They're -1 because they're being hit by heavier cavalry. So their morale right now is 4. So let's roll that up. Aha! And they have failed. So they're spooked by the heavier cavalry. So they are now disordered. Right. So we've actually got a bit of a disorder marker hanging around. So we can just sort of pop that in there. Bit of an explosion going on. They are disordered. You know, you don't want to start a melee disordered if you can avoid it. Right. So now, I seem to have run out of blue dice, don't I? It doesn't matter. Okay. Well, I suppose I can roll them one at a time, can't I? Let's roll for the Hussars. They don't have any modifiers. They're morale 5. They're fine. And we'll roll for the Dragoons. And they rolled a 6. So they're disordered as well. Look at that. Right. Let's get a disorder marker for them. And just one sec. All terribly interesting. Right, now, here, once again, they are being hit by heavier cavalry. So they get a -1. So they become a morale of 4. So let's roll them up. And they've passed their morale test. And then we go with the French cavalry. They've got a morale of 5. And they're fine. Okay. Morale test here. They've got a morale of 5. They have a morale of 5, but they are marked down 1 because they are not secure and they're being meleeed by cavalry. So let's roll up the Russians. And they morale of 4. They've scored 4, so they're okay. And then we roll for the French. Morale of 5. And look at that. Presumably the Russians are being terribly plucky. And Yep, they're not going quietly, as you might say. So they do have a morale of... No, I got that wrong, didn't I? Yes, I did. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Just to show you the proof. Yes, they're guard cavalry, aren't they? And they have a morale of 6. Okay.